So what we do know, and it was mentioned, but let's pull it together, that what differentiates you from all other life forms is your DNA. And these frequencies damage the DNA. That is the closest friend and ally to the immune system. So every single person who has ever recovered from every single disease any human has had through the history of humanity, it was their immune system that did it. Let's go back. The DNA and the immune system are being altered. Now, where does the immune system greatly come from? The intestinal tract. Healthy bacteria in the intestinal tract. And I mentioned this the other day, but it's worth telling because God has a better plan than we do sometimes. Mother's milk has colostrum in it. In the first minutes a baby suckles the mother, colostrum comes in, providing healthy, completely perfect, balanced, healthy bacteria if you live 150 years. That's a fact. We know in the past that Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola can disturb that. They look like Boy and Girl Scout camps compared to these frequencies. And so if it disturbs and opens up cells and allows calcium to interchange with that, as has been represented and true, can you imagine what it does to the bacteria? You're 2/3 bacteria. When I look at your physical body, so when you think somebody's sexy, think for a minute, 2/3 bacteria. Just wanted to be compatible bacteria at that point. So taking an appropriate probiotic is powerfully important. The distance is powerfully important, and I don't think we could have started any better than with what you said. She gave the most practical advice in this area. She's right. Don't use it. Use it as less as possible, and get it away from where you're hanging out 9 hours a day, 10 hours a day. How about your workplace? You're there 8, 9 hours a day. Do you have to have a workplace where you and your coworkers are being zapped? We brought a physicist onto the Hippocrates property, and he created a shield on the Hippocrates property. And you can do these things. We worked with Russians and Germans who have the state-of-the-art technology. It's called high pulse. I never take this off. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Scientifically validated, and it's easy. You put it on. That's all it takes. But that doesn't mean you put it on and use 2 cell phones at your head. I think it's worth telling you that governments in the past did have a little bit of morality. And a guy that you'd never expected was called Bill Clinton. Because how Dr. Davis started is Bill Clinton, she worked with him. And he wondered if cell phones created brain cancer. So tell the rest of that story. Do you know that story? Okay, I'll tell it. Dr. Davis and I talked about this. So she was actually the woman who oversaw the science that was being done during the 8-year administration. He commissioned a $25 million study on cell phones' effect in potentiality with brain tumors. The study came back, said, no way, doesn't work, impossible. And Dr. Davis and her husband retired several years ago, and she's a prolific lover of science. And she reads it and reads it and reads it, and she's reading this study, and they were so sloppy they didn't segue the study. If you're going to cheat on a study, you have to be sophisticated enough to try to hide it. They didn't hide it. So the first part of the study said, yeah, it looks like it's doing it, and overnight, that was it. So she happened to hand-select scientists and called the gentleman that she knew at some level, and he basically admitted to it, the pressure that came in at that point. That's how Dr. Davis became incredibly upset about this, and literally is the number one advocate in the scientific community, at least the original number one advocate. Now, thank God there's a chorus of people coming. So you've got to protect your body by being healthy. You've got to avoid all of these things. You've got to make sure there's pockets, there's bags you can put. My wife and I have one you can put two or three cell phones in and put that into your purse so you're not carrying it on your body or in your brassiere. There's actually plastic that you put on your lap if you're going to use a laptop computer. And it does protect you. And there are these devices. There are screens. You currently may have a smart meter. There are screens that dramatically reduce the radiation that comes from that until we pull that off your house. And by law, you can pretty much demand they pull it off your house.